Welcome to World Epic History. Today, we journey back to the spring of 1453, when the walls of Constantinople, once thought unbreakable, faced their greatest trial. History books often tell us of cannons, sultans, and emperors, but behind these pages lie forgotten voices. The desperation of citizens, the secret negotiations, and the hidden prophecies whispered in candlelit chambers. The fall of Constantinople was not only the end of an empire, but also the birth of a new world order, one shaped by betrayal, resilience, and destiny. Join us as we uncover the untold stories, the shadows between the lines, and the mysteries that history itself tried to bury. In 1453, the world witnessed one of history's greatest turning points, the fall of Constantinople. For 1,000 years, this city had stood as the bastion of the Roman Empire in the east, a fortress of faith, culture, and trade. But behind the marble walls and golden domes, hidden history reveals a city weakened by politics, greed, and betrayal. As the young Sultan Mehmed II prepared his armies, Constantinople faced its darkest hour. What history books rarely tell us is that this was not only a clash of empires, but also of secrets, where strategy, deception, and forgotten alliances shaped the fate of civilization. Tonight, we uncover the truths that remained in shadow, and the secrets of Mehmed II that transformed the ancient world forever. Long before 1453, Constantinople had been called the Queen of Cities. Its towering walls, the Theodosian fortifications, were said to be unbreachable. Yet by the 5th-10th century, those walls guarded a city of decline. The Byzantine Empire had shrunk to a shadow of its former glory, weakened by civil wars and the greed of foreign powers. Western kingdoms, once allies, now turned their backs. Even within the city, political factions plotted against each other. What most history books leave untold is how Constantinople was already falling long before Mehmed's cannons arrived. The empire's treasury was empty, its armies few, its morale shaken. While priests prayed for a miracle, the streets whispered of betrayal. The last emperor, Constantine XI, inherited not a proud empire, but a desperate gamble on survival. Mehmed II, only 21 years old, was no ordinary conqueror. While many European rulers dismissed him as inexperienced, his hidden genius lay in strategy and vision. Raised in the shadow of Ottoman power, Mehmed studied Greek philosophy, Roman warfare, and Islamic law. He saw himself not just as a sultan, but as the new Caesar, destined to rule from the city that had once been Rome's jewel. What history books often skip is his obsession with Constantinople. He built a secret navy, forged alliances with Italian engineers, and designed cannons unlike any the world had seen. His greatest weapon was not only steel, but the power of ideas, a belief that seizing Constantinople would crown him ruler of two worlds, East and West. In April 1453, Mehmed's army marched to the gates of Constantinople. Over 80,000 soldiers gathered, supported by cavalry, engineers, and an armada of ships. The Byzantines, by contrast, could muster fewer than 8,000 defenders. The balance was clear, yet the city's faith in its walls remained. But Mehmed carried with him a secret: massive cannons forged by a Hungarian engineer named Orban. These guns were so large, they required hundreds of oxen to move and days to reload. For the first time in history, the Theodosian Walls faced a weapon designed to shatter them. Hidden history tells us that some Byzantines secretly doubted their safety, whispering that no stone wall could stand forever. As the first thunder of cannon fire shook the city, hope began to fracture. Yet Constantinople's defenders were not without courage. Emperor Constantine XI stood alongside his soldiers, refusing to flee. Venetians and Genoese mercenaries joined the defense, bringing naval skill to the Golden Horn. To block Mehmed's ships, the Byzantines used a giant iron chain stretched across the harbor. For weeks, defenders repelled assaults, repairing walls by night, fighting by day. But what few remember is the hidden divisions inside. Rivalries between Genoese and Byzantine officers created mistrust. Some merchants secretly negotiated with the Ottomans to preserve their wealth. The city was united in appearance, yet fractured within. Mehmed knew this, and his spies fanned the flames of discord. While cannons tore at the walls, betrayal gnawed at the heart of the city. Mehmed II proved not only a warrior, but a master of deception. When his ships could not break the iron chain of the Golden Horn, he ordered an audacious plan. Over several nights, Ottoman soldiers dragged ships across land, rolling them on greased logs behind Galata and launching them directly into the harbor. The defenders awoke to see Ottoman galleys inside their sacred waters, bypassing their strongest defense. It was a moment of terror, a reminder that Mehmed's genius was not confined to cannons. Hidden history tells us that Venetian captains warned of this possibility, yet their voices were ignored. Now the defenders fought not only from the walls, but from the sea, desperately trying to hold every front. Constantinople, once thought untouchable, found itself surrounded by both land and water. As cannons thundered day and night, the city's food supplies dwindled. Constantinople, once the hub of global trade, now suffered hunger and fear. Bread grew scarce, water was rationed, and disease crept through the streets. Yet Emperor Constantine XI inspired his people with fiery words, declaring he would live and die with them. Hidden accounts reveal that priests told citizens the Virgin Mary herself would descend to save the city. Hope clung to prophecy, even as reality collapsed. Outside, Mehmed's soldiers built bridges, tunnels, and siege towers, encircling Constantinople in an iron grip. Every morning, the people awoke to the sound of cannon fire and the sight of their once eternal walls crumbling stone by stone. Western Europe watched the siege with unease, but help came too late. Pope Nicholas V had called for a crusade, yet rivalries and indifference stalled action. A handful of Genoese ships slipped through the blockade, bringing supplies and reinforcements, but not nearly enough. Hidden history reminds us that some Western rulers even welcomed the city's fall, hoping to profit from Ottoman trade or punish Byzantium for past disputes. Constantinople, once the Christian shield of Europe, now faced its greatest trial alone. Constantine XI appealed to kings and princes, but silence answered his pleas. For the people inside the walls, betrayal by their Christian brothers cut as deep as any Ottoman blade. Inside the besieged city, fear mixed with faith. Priests held nightly vigils, parading relics of saints along the walls, blessing soldiers with holy water. Chroniclers wrote of visions angels on the battlements, lights in the sky omens that gave hope to the desperate. Yet hidden history suggests some of these visions were fabrications, spread by leaders to maintain morale. At the same time, Mehmed encouraged his men with promises of glory, wealth, and paradise. For the Ottomans, Constantinople was not just a prize, but a prophecy fulfilled, the final step in their destiny. As both sides looked to heaven, the earth beneath them shook with cannon fire. Faith gave strength, but it could not stop iron and stone. By late May, the city was crumbling. The great cannon battered breaches in the Theodosian Walls, though defenders rushed to repair them with rubble and wood. Exhaustion weighed on both sides, yet Mehmed prepared for the final strike. Hidden reports say he consulted astrologers, choosing an auspicious day for the assault May 29, 1453. That night, the city lay in uneasy silence, broken only by prayers. Emperor Constantine XI rode along the walls, speaking to his soldiers with the calm of a man who had accepted death. He urged them to fight not for empire, but for faith, for family, for the city itself. It was the eve of destiny, and both sides knew the dawn would decide the fate of the world. Before dawn on May 29th, the Ottomans unleashed their final assault. Waves of soldiers surged against the battered walls. First came the irregulars, sent to exhaust the defenders. Then the Anatolian troops advanced, followed by the feared Janissaries, the elite warriors of Mehmed II. The defenders fought with desperate courage, hurling stones, boiling oil, and arrows. Hidden chronicles mention women and even children joining the defense, carrying water and tending the wounded on the walls. The clash became a storm of steel and screams, where every stone of the Theodosian Walls seemed to bleed. Mehmed's plan was clear: overwhelm through numbers, break the will of the defenders, and hammer the breaches until no man could hold them. At the Kirkoporta, a small postern gate in the northern walls, fate turned against Constantinople. Hidden history tells us that in the chaos of battle, the gate was left unlocked or poorly guarded. Ottoman troops poured through, seizing a foothold inside the city. Once inside, they raised their banners, signaling victory to their comrades. Panic spread among the defenders, who rushed to seal breaches elsewhere. Emperor Constantine XI, upon hearing the news, is said to have removed his imperial regalia and charged into battle as a common soldier. His final stand remains shrouded in legend, but one truth is clear: the emperor chose to die with his city. As the gates fell, Ottoman forces flooded into Constantinople. The city that had resisted 1,000 years of sieges collapsed in a single morning. Mehmed's troops stormed through markets, palaces, and churches. For 3 days, plunder and chaos swept the streets, as was customary after a conquest. Yet hidden records suggest Mehmed ordered strict control after the initial frenzy, determined to preserve the city as his new capital. In Hagia Sophia, thousands sought refuge, praying as invaders broke down the doors. What followed was a mixture of horror and all the sacred space of Christendom transformed into the prize of Islam. On the steps of Hagia Sophia, Mehmed II stood victorious. He entered not as a destroyer, but as a ruler claiming his inheritance. Declaring himself Kaiser-i-Rom, the Caesar of Rome, he fulfilled his lifelong dream. Hidden accounts say Mehmed spared many scholars and artisans, determined to rebuild Constantinople into a thriving Ottoman capital. While bloodshed marked the conquest, it also marked the birth of Istanbul. The fall of Constantinople was not merely an end, but a beginning a transformation of empire, culture, and faith. Mehmed's secrets lay not only in conquest, but in vision. He saw the city as the bridge between East and West, past and future. For Europe, the shock was profound. The fall of Constantinople shattered the last remnant of the Roman Empire. Hidden voices in the West whispered that Christendom had been punished for its divisions and greed. The loss also cut off trade routes to the East, forcing Europeans to search for new paths. In this way, 1453 indirectly sparked the age of exploration. Columbus, Vasco da Gama, and Magellan would sail because Constantinople had fallen. What history books often forget is how this single morning reshaped not only empires, but the world itself. For the Ottomans, victory was more than military triumph. It was destiny fulfilled. Mehmed II earned the title the Conqueror, shaping the Ottoman Empire into a world power for centuries. Hidden accounts reveal how he welcomed diverse communities, turning Istanbul into a melting pot of cultures, religions, and languages. While Hagia Sophia became a mosque, many churches were allowed to remain. Mehmed's rule was not only iron but calculated tolerance, securing loyalty through balance. The secrets of his success lay in vision, ruling not with destruction alone, but with reconstruction. The fall of Constantinople also transformed warfare. Cannons had proven stronger than walls, ending an age of fortifications. Castles across Europe suddenly seemed vulnerable. Hidden history shows that many rulers rushed to modernize their armies, fearing that the fate of Constantinople could be their own. The thunder of Mehmed's cannons echoed across the continent, announcing a new age of gunpowder and artillery. From that day, no empire could rely solely on stone to guard its future. Legends soon grew around the last emperor. Some claimed Constantine XI's body was never found, that he turned to marble and would one day rise to reclaim his throne. These myths gave hope to Greeks living under Ottoman rule, fueling dreams of revival. Hidden chronicles tell us that songs and prayers about the marble emperor echoed for centuries. The fall of Constantinople became not only a memory, but a wound, one that lived in the hearts of generations. For the Byzantine world, the fall was the twilight of an empire, but also the dispersal of its knowledge. Greek scholars fled westward, carrying manuscripts of ancient philosophy and science. Hidden history reminds us that this migration of wisdom fueled the Renaissance, breathing new life into Europe. Thus, while Constantinople burned, ideas crossed the sea, igniting a rebirth of art, literature, and learning. The death of one empire became the spark of another's golden age. Thus ended the fall of Constantinople in 1453, a moment that echoed across centuries. What history books often leave untold are the secrets within, the betrayals, the prophecies, the visions of Mehmed II that reshaped the world. The fall was more than the end of Byzantium. It was the birth of Istanbul, the rise of the Ottomans, and the dawn of a new era. From the ashes of one empire rose another, and the city of Constantine became the city of Mehmed. Yet in every stone of Istanbul's old walls, whispers of 1453 remain, a reminder that even the mightiest civilizations can fall, and from their ruins, new destinies are born.